So this video is all about rentals. As a Toronto realtor, rentals are a big part of what I do with my day-to-day business, whether that's helping landlords find AAA tenants or helping tenants find a great property to rent. I'm going to be focusing primarily on condo rentals, but some of the points that I'm going to be talking about are transferable to freehold rentals as well. But no matter what, August 2025 and September 2025 are some of the greatest summer months that I have seen in the last little while for somebody who's looking to get into a new rental. Whether you're moving into the GTA from another city or another country, or you have simply just been in your rental for a few years and you're starting to look at those price points and advertisements, and maybe you're thinking, hey, there seems to be some pretty good opportunities on the market right now, and maybe the rent that you're currently paying is above what the market rent is today. If you got into your rental in 2021 or 2022, chances are that you are paying above today's market rent. Rental, just like anything else in real estate or any market, comes down to ultimately supply and demand. And in 2021 and 2022, we had a high influx of people moving into the greater Toronto area, all moving in at the same time. There was also not that much purpose-built rental inventory on the market. So as a result, essentially tenants could only go in one direction, and that was either people that are looking to rent a condo, or maybe somebody's looking to rent a house or part of their house. And because there was limited supply and a lot of demand, prices went up sharply. Like I remember in 2021 and 2022, when I was working with tenants, in some cases a property would get listed in the morning, and before we could even get in to see that property that afternoon, they already had some offers on the table. Sometimes tenants were even paying a year of rent up front, above asking rent, whatever they could do to get into that property. Well, times have changed, and even though the summer months are generally some of the busiest months for rentals, because most people are looking to secure something or figure out what their living arrangement is going to be like by September, whether that's school starting or starting a new job, or just, the summer's kind of over and people are, looking to get back into business. But this summer, it hasn't been that eventful. Like I've found it much easier working on the tenant side, helping good tenants find rentals, as opposed to working on the landlord side. We're still getting applications coming in, but it's just the caliber of the applicants is not necessarily what my landlords are used to. So if you're a tenant, essentially it's a tenant's market. So a few things that you need to take into consideration. The first and foremost is pet restrictions and pet rules. This is something I get a lot of questions about. So really, a landlord cannot prohibit you from having a pet, with a couple of exceptions. So in a condominium, if it's a pet-free building, then you're not allowed to have pets. Now there is an exception to this, which is like personal support animals, but I'm just talking about a general pet. And if you're looking to rent a house, or let's say a basement in a house, or the main floor and there's another tenant living in the basement, now if the other person has some sort of pet allergies and there's undue hardship, under those circumstances a landlord can prohibit you from having a pet. But there is a section in the rental application which says, do you have pets? Now keep in mind, if you move into a building, into a condo building, make sure that that building's pet rules and restrictions don't affect the type of pet that you have. As far as your landlord, they may not be open to renting to somebody that has a pet, but once you've moved into that unit, if you decided to get a pet, there's really not much that they can do unless that pet is causing damage to the unit, neighbors are complaining because the dog is barking loud all the time, or the building prohibits those types of pets. So just keep that in mind. Another thing is that when I'm working with tenants, they get fixated on a condo's amenities, whether it has a pool, a gym. Like I very rarely have seen amenities where that would replace a gym membership. And generally the first time when somebody moves into a condo, they really care about these amenities, but ultimately, like when they're looking for their next property, they're not that concerned about amenities anymore, because they realize that that pool that they thought that they were going to be swimming in all the time, they maybe used once or twice. That barbecue area, maybe they used it once. That gym wasn't that good of a gym. They had to keep their Good Life membership. So ultimately, I think living space is much more important than the amenities of the building. Unless you have like a personal trainer coming in and you have to make sure you have a gym for them to train you. But I'm just talking about like overall. Another point that I have a lot of questions about from tenants is rent control. So there is no rent control in Ontario for any property that was first occupied for residential purposes after November 2018. What does this mean? So anything before that date, there is rent control. So the province of Ontario sets out the maximum amount that a landlord is allowed to increase rent for that year. So for 2026, for example, it's going to be 2.1%. Now, landlords can apply for an exemption to this. For example, if their property tax or utility bills has gone up significantly, if they had to make some very substantial repairs to the property or upgrades, such as installing an elevator, these are costs that they can be looking to recover from their tenants. But they first have to get permission to raise the rent above the rent control guidelines from the landlord tenant boards. So make sure that you keep this in mind. Basically what I'm getting at is that if the property that you're looking to move into, if your plan is just to live there for a year or two, maybe it's not that important for you whether that building has rent control or that unit has rent control. But if you're going to be living there for a longer period of time, something with rent control can make a lot of sense for you. And now here comes the last point, and that is working with a real estate agent to secure your rental. Did you know that it's free to work with a realtor to secure a rental, to represent you as a tenant? We're paid by the landlords. So ultimately, we don't make anything unless we find you a property. And a lot of times, it's a lot of work to work with a tenant to secure that property. Sometimes you might be putting in offers, and for whatever reason, maybe somebody else put in an offer, maybe they added, like, I don't know, offering additional months of rent up front, offering a higher pay. The landlord just likes their tenant profile better, but it's like, you know, it's a process. And sometimes you have to put in several offers, even with AAA tenants, before something gets accepted. But, you know, something that I'm noticing is that for listings that I have for lease, I have people that reach out to me on realtor.ca. They want to see the property. When I ask them, do you have an agent? They say yes. Ultimately, I want to make sure that your agent gets paid for the work that they're doing. So for me to show you that property and represent you on that lease, first of all, I have a fiduciary duty to my landlord client. Second, if you sign something with your agent that they're representing you, I can't even like really assist you. And third, I want to make sure that your realtor is getting paid for the hard work that they're putting in. So recruit a realtor, work with a realtor, but be loyal to that realtor. There's nothing on House Sigma, condos.ca, realtor.ca that you're going to see that your realtor can't already share with you through Treb themselves, whether that's a one-home app or they're using some sort of other app. Ultimately, all the listings on the MLS system are the same, and us as realtors have access only to the MLS listings. Things that you see on Facebook, Kijiji, Craigslist, rentals.ca, sometimes we may not be able to assist you with that because they're not cooperating with realtors and not working with realtors. It's basically landlords or property management that's just like renting out the properties directly themselves. They don't want to deal with a realtor. They don't want to pay commissions. But if you're looking to move into a condo, chances are that you need a realtor to assist you with that. My recommendation, recruit one realtor, somebody that understands the condo space, somebody that you jive with and can work well with, and stick to that realtor unless there's a reason why you need to exit that relationship. And if you have a tenant representation agreement signed, you need to exit that relationship in writing. I, as a realtor, cannot talk to you if you have a tenant representation agreement signed with another realtor. I can just answer general questions, but I can't help you see a property or do showings or any of that. So make sure that you're picking somebody that is knowledgeable, but ultimately somebody who has the right fit and works on the same tempo as you, somebody who's responsive to the level that you need them to be responsive. And the absolute last thing I'm going to talk about are the supporting documents, because usually they are the same. So what are we looking to see as supporting documents when approving a tenant? Government ID, a full credit report, employment letter, pay stubs, completed rental application for anybody who's going to be living in that unit that's over the age of 18. If, let's say, one of the people is working, the other one's not, we'll provide the other documents except the employment letter. It's better to provide everything up front than not provide documents and have the other agent asking for additional things, and then you're kind of scrambling to get them. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, it is a great time if you're looking to get into a rental in the Greater Toronto area. My name is Alex Zhvanetskiy, Toronto Realtor with RE/MAX Condos Plus. Hope you found this video to be insightful. If you need any assistance in your search, there is a link in the video description to book a call. As always, if you could like, share, and subscribe this, I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time on your Toronto Condos.